Focus today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and always a great time we have when we have a chance to sit down with Joel Block and get his interpretation. He's a seasoned venture capitalist. He's a financial strategist and advisor. And he's a conference speaker, all because he got his start and recognition by being on theDove. He does have a website called joelblock.com. You can go there, very resourceful. He has a lot of information there that you can download. He makes available to you. That's at joelblock.com. Brother Joel, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Perry. How are you?
Good to see you. Oh, man, I don't know how you keep up with all this stuff. How would you describe today the overall state of the U.S. economy?
I am so bullish, Perry. I'm just so bullish on what's going on. I think that we're just going in the right direction. I think the president has this tariff thing under control in spite of all the problems that people are trying to create around it. This economy is going to be in better shape in 6 months than we've seen in a long time.
Have you had a chance to look at the big, beautiful bill?
I have not really studied the big, beautiful bill. No, here's the thing. It's gone through the House. It's got a lot of work to do through the Senate. To me, it's sort of a waste of time until they make all these edits. So there's going to be a lot of changes. So any work we do now would be time wasted.
What's your take on inflation?
Well, it's down a little bit. It's getting under control. I mean, there's specific sectors that are coming under control. I just think all the way around that this administration is just putting pressure on companies that are taking advantage on situations that are not working well. I'd like to see the Fed be a little more cooperative, because if they brought interest rates down a little bit, I think things would go even in a better direction. But that's not too far off.
Why don't they do that? I mean, is it just they don't like each other?
I'm not quite sure, what the politics are behind the scenes. But I can tell you this, the Fed has its own opinion. In 23, the Fed really did a poor job of managing those interest rates. Remember they said that this inflation thing is just transitory, it's just temporary, it's not really going to make a big deal. I think they got a lot of mud on their face, and they really need to be very careful to make sure that they don't make the same mistake again. In other words, that this dip in inflation is just they want to make sure it's permanent, not temporary. I think they really want to avoid making the same mistake they made before. So they're probably inserting a little extra caution into the process.
All right, a couple big things here I want to talk about, because I only have here for one segment today. The first one is the debt. It's serious, and when are we going to see it come down? And two, it looks like the value of the dollar is cooling a little bit. What's the Joel Block take?
Well, let's talk about the debt. To me, I really understand the debt a little better than the dollar part. But the debt is catastrophic. The markets have really not addressed it, and because interest rates are so much higher now than they were a year ago, or a year and a half ago, the cost of carrying that debt is really serious. I mean, in the past, when the interest rate was extremely low, the cost of carrying the debt was extremely low. But now it's very material. Like the cost of carrying this debt, every time we have to borrow money, we have to borrow it from some other country or organization somewhere in the world, and we're paying a very high price, a much higher interest rate than we were paying a couple of years ago. And so now the accumulated debt is costing us $1 trillion a year to carry. The interest cost is more than the entire military of the United States government. So it's real serious. And Wall Street's starting to notice it. We took a hit to our credit rating as a country recently, and it's serious. So my sense is that although they keep saying that all this stuff in this big beautiful bill is going to raise the cost of the debt, I think this administration is keenly aware of what's happening, and there are lots of different ways that they're going to bring this cost down.
Okay, I guess one of the things that makes my brain on tilt, if the debt is so catastrophic and dangerous, why isn't it showing up in the current economics? I mean, we have to address this.
Well, we do have to address it. When you talk about it's not showing up, are you saying that the markets aren't paying attention to it?
Well, I just can't we trust the numbers? I mean, the market's going up and down. But at what point does the debt show up on the balance sheet?
Well, it's clearly there, and it's on everybody's radar screen. The market is not reacting. It's not. Let's put it like this: the market's not overreacting to the debt problem, but the market is keenly aware of this problem. And there hasn't been a payment that's been missed. We still continue to do okay. But what's surprising to me is that our elected senators and representatives are really, in general, as a group, not focused enough on this problem. They really listen. All of us need to pull in the belt. Everybody's going to have to sacrifice a little. We got to get this under control. I think the Trump administration is more focused on making the economy swell and get bigger and better, which means that more taxes will come in, which means that they want to pay down the debt by making the economy better.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of have to work on both. You have to sort of work on having the economy go get bigger and stronger, and at the same time have those expenses come down.
So, is there another fundamental problem, Joel, and you just kind of touched on it? Does the average lawmaker understand that the U.S. government is a business going broke? It's not a cookie jar. And
Well,
the way you salvage a business going broke is you cut expenses.
Yeah. Well, this whole Doge thing was kind of run the way a turnaround runs. Turnaround organizations, if you hire a turnaround consultant, they break everything. I mean, they break everything and they rebuild it back together. That's what Doge did. A lot of people didn't understand that that was done very much deliberately. They thought it was just chaos and it was being done without a plan. That's the way that the turnaround business works. Is you just start breaking things and then you put them back together better than before. I don't think that most of the lawmakers in the country have this high enough as a priority because their term's going to be over. They've kind of just, a lot of these people for the last 30 years have kicked the can down the road, and this administration is done kicking things down the road. I mean, listen, how about just the termination of the penny? They've been talking about this for 30 years, and this administration just said enough's enough, signed the paperwork, and now the penny's gone. It's done. And that's really what they've done with a lot of different initiatives. They've just taken a lot of things that have been kicked down the road for the last 20, 30, even 40 years, and they've just shut them off. Okay. And I think that they're really trying to bring that level of attention to the deficit.
A couple of other things. What's your 30,000-foot view of the housing market, and what are we going to do to protect? I'm not talking big ag. I'm talking the American farmer.
Well, housing, we still have an imbalance of supply and demand. Apparently, people who have delayed selling their homes for the last few years have finally got to the point where they can't wait any longer. They don't want to surrender the good interest rate that they have because it is what it is. But if you got to move, at some point you got to move. And so apparently quite a few homes have come on the market recently. And so it's become a buyer's market. It had been a seller's market because it was very low inventory, but apparently that's changing right now. And people are starting to move in spite of the fact that they're going to have to move into a higher interest rate mortgage when they make the plan on the other side. But that's just, what happens. As far as ag goes, we need to protect our family farmers. I mean, we can't just be a country that has large institutional farmers that are taking care of this big ag. We have to really protect our small guys, and we have to protect our manufacturers too. And by the way, Perry, one of the things I think that's going to be enormous is that the president keeps talking about this $7 or $8 trillion of corporate investments that's going to come into this country. Those are numbers we've never seen before. And when those kind of dollars start coming in, the real estate business, the manufacturing business, the development business, the construction business, all these different hardcore industries, by the way, where people don't lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence. These are high-skilled workers that are going to be swinging hammers and laying concrete and painting buildings and putting in tile. We're going to see more of these people get high-quality, high-paying jobs than we've seen in years and years and years. And it's going to be just spectacular. And then the president wants to move money into trade schools so we can educate more young people and help bring them into the trades, because this country needs people who can actually do things that have high skills, and those people get paid a lot of dough for bringing those skills to the table. So that's why I'm bullish on so many fronts.
Where do you think the corporate tax is going to end up?
You know, listen, I'm not really sure. It probably will end up somewhere about where it is, maybe a little bit lower than where it is now, just because they want to stimulate activity. You got to remember that corporations, although they pay tax, pass everything along to consumers. So higher corporate taxes are inflationary. And that's, so it'd be in their interest to bring those taxes down a little bit. But who knows where it's going to end up.
The other one is, and like you, I haven't seen a detailed summary of the big, beautiful bill. I've picked up bits and pieces, and I think it is going to be very beneficial to small business. There's a lot of things in there that are encouraging for small business. But the one thing I haven't seen in there, it could be I just haven't seen it, is if we want to protect the next generation small business, we got to get rid of the inheritance tax or at least lower it. Do you see that?
Yeah, you know what is it? It's $13 million a person or something. So it's already pretty good. I mean, it's better than it was many years ago. Over that amount, you got to understand that inheritance tax, really it's a little different than what people think. They call it a death tax, but really what it is, it's a wealth accumulation tax. And the founding fathers and people who set up these taxes, 100 and more years ago, they really understood that if Warren Buffett dies, and he gives $100 billion to his family, and that 100 turns into 200 billion, and then it turns into 400 billion. Next thing you know, you've got people that are bigger than the government, and that's the reason that we even have these taxes to begin with, is it prevents people from becoming too rich, and they never even anticipated would become as rich as they are now. But that's really the reason. And so they've really kind of created a very good threshold, say $26 million for a couple. I think that's pretty close to what it is. That's a pretty decent amount of money to escape all those taxes. And then you get that step up in basis, which means that there's no estate tax at all. That's enough for 99% of the families in the United States to be pretty good.
Yeah, I'd like to see it more for a lot of reasons, but primarily so that the American farm can pass to the next generation.
Well, the farm is a little different because that is an expensive asset and the thing is that the way that people deal with those taxes is they have to buy life insurance, and that's where the cash comes from to pay the taxes. So it's a complicated financial planning formula that some of these organizations use, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to do a carve out. Maybe not raise the floor for everybody. 26 million is pretty good for most everybody, but there probably are a couple of industries like farmers that probably need it to be a higher number because they have so much land, so much equipment, and the transfer of those assets probably would be very painful. And they probably can't afford to carry all the life insurance they need to cover that in the event of that. So a carve out would probably be relevant for that industry.
Are you still bullish on Bitcoins?
I still am. I don't pay as much attention to it as I did before, but it's become a normal thing. I mean, it's just become a thing that's pretty normal, and I think that it's here to stay.
Well, I'm not a believer, but that doesn't make me a bad person. I'm just not a believer.
Yeah. Listen, you'll come around. You'll come around.
I just don't see it. I don't understand. So the last thing is energy. It is coming down, but I have to tell you, we out here on the West Coast, we haven't seen it, and it's kind of got me puzzled. The cost of goods getting to market here is still high because our energy prices are high. What do you think's going on here?
Well, I think partly there's a tax issue. That the taxes on those energy products are incredibly high. It probably does cost a little more to get it to the West Coast. And maybe the worst thing is that they know that people on the West Coast are just used to paying, and they have more dough than people in other parts of the country. And so they can charge more, and they do charge more. And that's probably a combination of all those different things. So I will say that nuclear is front and center. Facebook made a big deal with a big nuclear provider in Illinois, and that's a big thing. So, everybody remembers what happened 50 years ago, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and some of these other terrible situations. But, 50 years is a long time for scientists and engineers to make this industry better. And we need better ways to produce inexpensive energy. And it sounds like nuclear is really going to be the ticket. And this president is favorable toward nuclear. And the big tech companies, they need more power. And they're willing to invest in making those resources better, more reliable, and more abundant.
Hey, Joel, good to see you, buddy. You're always smiling and on top of it. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out joelblock.com. That's his website. And there's a lot there. And he has some great information available to you, joelblock.com. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
Harry, always good to see you, too.
All right, take care, pal.